welcome everybody to our energy talk. My name is Jona Bryndis, and as every Wednesday, we're going to go through the deeper discussion here of these, what we call collective energies, the outer weather conditions for those of us who are energetically sensitive and empathic, and discuss what they do to us. And I was mentioning the physical aspect, the ups and downs, the surge of energy on one day, and then the other like exhaustion and maybe a down feeling the next day. So this is something that I can give you as an energy management tip here for these coming weeks, that you just need to be okay with this. It's all about you gaining more clarity about what you need at a given time, and sometimes you just need downtime. And that triggers a bunch of things in us, and I would love to talk to you guys about this. What it is in us that resists, just sort of normal weather conditions. I come from Northern Europe, guys. So April is the month of pretty much all weather conditions. Snow and rain and sun. That's sort of the characteristic of this time. And as energetically sensitives, we experience that energetically as well. For some of us, it's very physical. For some of us, it's more emotional, and for some of us, it shows us sort of the mental ups and downs that we have, the looping one day, and then the next day everything's fine. And for some of us, it's more spiritual, and etheric, perhaps even if you are one of those of us who, sees things in a different way. Okay, so that's all part of our human condition, and it's part of what we need to contend with. So what in us resists that? We see ourselves as these human beings, and yet we, sort of seem to reduce ourselves often to just our doing. And when I talk about what it means to be human, I offer this five-folded view. Being human means to contend with a physical condition, with an emotional condition, a mental condition, a spiritual, and an etheric condition. And as soon as we open up our life view and our world view for this more augmented and more verified kind of experience of reality, we'll see that things aren't really as bleak, as let's maybe say mainstream media portrays them, or your neighbors, or the majority of people out there. So there is a way, without mystifying things, without woo-wooing things, to navigate through this world by knowing ourselves a little better and understanding these different dimensions of ourselves in a, say, more self-responsible and sustainable way. And this is the theme here for us in this big transformation, is to understand ourselves better, to gain more clarity about what we need, to gain more clarity about what we truly want. And I want to discuss with you today what our resistances are to that. Like, what in us creates all this big drama, this big rah-rah with that? Do you guys know what that is in you? Do you have an inkling or a feeling? Or do you have an experience that is challenging, that appears as a crisis, that basically questions everything that you have been believing in, or that you have accepted as your reality so far? Let's just get a count here. Who of you has experienced this in, let's say, the last year and a half? A total sort of upside downy experience of your values, of your beliefs, of your framework of life, like how you regard life, your relationships. Oh, that's almost all of you. Okay, so let me assure you guys that you are not alone. Okay, and even though other people are trying really hard, white knuckle, to not let anybody else see that they are going through the same thing. It is part of this, what I call energetic weather condition. It is the collective energy right now. And yesterday I've had a client that asked a very simple question, and that is like, I'm not sure, is this just me, or is this me in interaction with others? What my take is on that. And the answer is yes to both. Yeah, as so many times in these energy talks or energy updates or workshops that I give, I try to remind everyone on the two-way aspect of energy, and that that what we experience in our individual life is part of the bigger collective experience, and vice versa. The vice versa part, where we don't just see that the collective affects us, because that's something, especially if we're more like on the highly sensitive side of things, that we all kind of figure out as we go. But the part where our energy also influences the collective, that is something that many of you haven't quite understood yet, right? And this has to do with the nature of energies altogether, which is why everything is energy. Really what it means is that everything can transform. Everything transforms all the time. And even if things appear solid, if they appear static to us, from a deeper perspective, they really aren't. What we experience as 3D solidity is 99.9% space. This is something that you can learn in physics and in chemistry and biology, right? So we are not as material or as solid as we think we are. So if it's true that everything can transform, that everything is energy, wouldn't that also mean that everything can heal? That everything can be co-created? That we can change reality? That's what that means. Everything is energy means you can co-create your reality. It doesn't mean everything is woo. It appears that way sometimes. But it also doesn't mean that everything is material either. Okay, so there's also a viewpoint of degrading the sacred and the mystical, and making it just a matter of physical energy. That's not the case either. It coexists. So how can we navigate through this? Let's talk about the resistances first. What is it that comes up for you? I know many of you guys are more conscious of these inner dynamics than perhaps the bigger audience. This is why I have a very small audience only. It's very select, it's people with a certain conscious level. So what is it that comes up for you as sort of the first thing that you feel as resistance on whichever level it comes forward for you: physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, etheric? What do you experience when you think of drama, crisis, challenge? What is it that is most challenging for you there in regards to your own attitude to it? What creates confliction in you? Who would like to share? Feel free to speak into the microphone or text in the chat. Experiencing the mind going crazy with thoughts. Yes. Raise your hand if that is part of your problem. I know it's part of almost everybody's problem, right? So our mind cannot be left out. So as much as all of us want to hold hands and sing Kumbaya and want to see sort of humanity in unity and mutuality and equality and so forth, there's a part of us, and this is mostly our mind, all right, that can't sort of put things together. Yeah, whether it's the reality that we have right now, how do we get there from here to there, or how we have done things in the past. Yeah, so our comfort zone. Yeah, we have to maintain a certain projection of ourselves. Maybe we have to maintain certain expectations. Yeah, those are the things that come up in our mind. Yeah, so we all want a happy ending. Yeah, but then we experience sort of the clash with reality. We have to pay our bills. We have to deal with relationship stuff. We have to deal with career choices and all that, right? So this is where the mind steps in and says, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's not rock the boat here. Maybe it even says to you, like, why don't you just give up trying? Okay, why don't you just go the sort of the conformist way? Why don't you just stay with the trodden path? Better not rock the boat, because who knows, what the unknown brings if you are beginning to change something. Yeah. So yes, Becky, or Tina, sorry, Tina, it is the mind, that responds to the prospect of change. For many of us, it is the mind that responds first. Yeah, it kind of says, oh no, change means unknown, and the unknown triggers fear in us, and fear then triggers fear thoughts in us. Yeah, and that's why many of us get stuck. What else? Brian, this is a funny comment that you're making here. Let me read this to all of you who can't see the chat. The other day I expressed in yoga how I've been feeling like I've got a free pass to the wrong amusement park. And that's interesting. Yeah, so this is referring more to the physical and emotional. Yeah. It's very funny because this is actually something, just on a side note here, not to go off on a tangent, but this is something that I've experienced just recently in 3D here. As many of you know, I live in Orlando. We have lots of amusement parks here, the big names. And there were some changes there that occurred where whatever appeared as entertaining or desirable for me in the past, all of a sudden no longer resonated. I don't know, am I getting this right? Yeah, it's like, we're kind of thrown into an experience, and maybe in the past we just agreed to it, or we actually found it amusing to a certain degree. And now we're realizing, wait, this kind of feels like I'm in the wrong movie. Yeah, this is no longer my movie. This is some different movie now. Yeah, so that's the physical and the emotional aspect. Yeah, the five sensual aspect. Yeah, is, do I even like this still? Is this even what I want to experience? Is this desirable to me? Yeah, is this even sustainable? Yeah. So cool. So we got the mental dimension, we got the physical, the emotional dimension. Keep going, guys. What else comes up for you? Besides, fear, or, realizing that some of the things aren't really that desirable anymore, the needs and the wants. What else? Who of you experiences as sort of a different way of seeing yourself or the world that you're in, and that may trigger something maybe like a spiritual crisis in you? Who of you has had thoughts or notions that really tested your belief system, your faith perhaps even? We went through a very spiritual time here in this last week or so. Yes, Cindy, you're responding to this with, you feel the need for more connection, that this has become much stronger in you. Yes, that's a spiritual notion. And Becky adds to that, and the feeling of separation. So it's both. There's a stronger need to connect, and also maybe, as this is being experienced in a conscious way, the absence of that connection may become more aware to us. Something that is more sort of perceived as a longing now. Yeah, a longing for something. That's more of a spiritual notion, guys. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the relationships that we have are no longer good or toxic or anything like that. We don't have to go off into the extreme, any other extreme with it. It may just mean that we are connecting with something deeper within. We just had the beautiful Connect with Your True Self energy session on Saturday, where many of you took advantage of this free event and really touched down with that. So when we feel that, it can change the way we see sort of the meaning and purpose of life. So the spiritual aspect is the part that links us into meaning and purpose, kind of like fulfillment rather than just desire. So the physical and emotional part of our experience links us into what we want, to lust and desire and what we wish for. The spiritual aspect brings in a more it qualifies this a little more. I don't just want anything. I don't just want a lot of money. I don't just want a lot of time. I want to do something with my money. I want to have certain experiences. I want to do something with my time. I want a quality. I want to feel fulfilled. I want to give this meaning and purpose. So that is also what is being questioned right now. That is also what is being overhauled. There is sort of when I talk in this energy lingo, I called this, we're moving into a higher expression. There is a higher expression that is wanting to come through in us, and it questions everything that we have done before, and that can, just like you said, Tina, it makes us feel like we've outgrown our own life, or our daily habits, our routines, or even our goals. Who of you has experienced something like that, where you feel like you've gone beyond your previous goal system? Not necessarily because you've reached it all or you've accomplished all your goals, but more something along the lines that you feel like, it's cool and all to go for this, but it really doesn't resonate anymore. Many of you experiencing this in your relationships right now, where you may have favored or you may have prioritized certain values, say stability or security in the past, that are simply no longer doing it for you. And here it's very important that you go a little deeper with this, because there's a notion in us that where we want to point fingers and say, oh, it's because of my partner, or because of my work, or where we externalize this dissatisfaction or the lack of fulfillment. Sometimes it's not that simple, guys. A more mature way of looking at it is that is recognizing that there's a growth that has taken place within you. And I like the way, Tina, how you said this. You've outgrown certain things. This is also part of this constant transformation, this constant evolution. That we sometimes just outgrow our partners, and when it comes to making choices or deciding how to proceed from here, my suggestion to you is, and this is a big part of how I make money, the energy coaching of such day-to-day problems, be it with business or relationships or personal development, is to ask yourself a few fundamental questions, namely, is this what I want? Is this what I need? And is this job, this business, or this partnership helping me to get there? Yeah, and many of you are, and I was actually expecting that to be something you mentioned as well. Many of you run into a confliction here, namely, you don't want to appear as selfish. This is something in your value system that you don't want to be, but at the same time you're being asked to prioritize your own needs, your own longing, your desire to bring more meaning and purpose into your life. And that sometimes does mean to leave people behind. And it's nobody's fault, you see. Just because you are choosing your own growth doesn't mean that you are making a choice against another person. It just really means that you've outgrown it. And this can be heart-wrenching sometimes, especially when it's about long-term relationships or businesses, that you have invested a lot in, your sweat and your blood, and you realize, this isn't really getting you where you want to be, and where you find that if you continue just the way you've been doing this, it would go against yourself. So your first priority, your first responsibility is toward your own growth, guys. Yeah. So if you run into codependency issues there, then that requires inner work. Yeah, you're not going to get past what this stirs up in you. Yeah, the mental, the emotional, and sometimes also the spiritual conflicts, by yourself. You cannot do this with your mind. That's why so many people get stuck in the mind, because you're trying to resolve an equation and it's too complex for your mind. Fulfillment, meaning, and purpose, and belief cannot be equated, cannot be computed by your mind. Only you need your heart, you need your fusioned heart-mind for that, and that needs to be trained. Yeah, so that's where people like me come in. Mm-hmm. Syria, yes, in different areas of relationships included, finding more and more in line with myself. So that's the goal then. Yeah, and this what we call mindfulness or spirituality in our life needs to be embraced now. It is not an additional complication, as some people see it. It is an extra tool, guys, and especially those of you who have a hard time with energetics and etheric vision, and seeing energies and feeling energies. You need training, because this is like a new technology that is unfolding in you, and you don't know yet how to use this. Yeah, it's very common to be overwhelmed by this, and to blame it onto others, and to say, the people are energetic vampires, or they're doing this or that, or they're ghouls, or they're demonic, or agents of the dark, or whatever. It's understandable, guys, but it's not very sophisticated. That is not a mature stance. Yeah, so energies are all around us. We interact on an energetic, on an unseen level at all times, and we all have these seen and unseen, conscious and unconscious habits, and sort of energetics ourselves. Okay, and if you want to understand this new technology and use it more effectively for yourself as conscious co-creator, you're going to have to learn these new rules of engagement. Yeah. So really what I want to say, guys, is that change is nothing that needs to scare you. Just because it becomes overwhelming at times, and it seems like everything is collapsing and doom is upon us. This is sort of the from the perspective of the old paradigm. Yes, the old paradigm is collapsing, but that doesn't mean that you're going to die or that everything goes down the drain. All it means is that there's an opportunity to grow. There's an opportunity to evolve. And it is common in the history of mankind that times like this are the times of highest level of inventiveness and creativeness and new inspirations. Yeah? And so my message to you is to see this challenge to your ego comfort zone as an evolutionary step for yourself to grow into higher consciousness, yeah, to grow into your higher expression and to become a more active co-creator and to begin to see how you can transform, how you can change not just energies, but also your reality. Yeah? This is what these times are bringing forward for us. And what we experience as resistance within is, well, pretty much our ego, the autopilot in us, the fail-safe, the survival-based paradigm, where dog eats dog, or where it's about maximum self-gain or maximum pleasure and avoiding pain. These parameters cannot provide growth. They cannot lead us to fulfillment. They cannot lead us to purpose or meaning or even true love. All right, so that is the part that we need to accept now. And once you're willing to see that, and once you're willing to work with that within yourself, and remember, you can't do this with your mind alone. The mind cannot transcend itself. The ego cannot transcend itself. It requires you to open yourself up for a new paradigm, and the easiest way to do this is through connection. So Cindy, this need to connect deeper with others is basically part of this new technology, because as you're beginning to connect deeper with others, like we do here, just by simply talking about things, or by doing a meditation, by engaging in things like physical routines such as yoga and so forth, we are connecting deeper within ourselves, and that is then becoming our teacher, for what our true needs are, what our true wants are, and how to prioritize things. We have resistance in us, and that resistance, as we've talked about pretty much every week here, is sort of that ego paradigm that wants us to keep everything the way it is. That tries to maintain the old, and this is why our mind is conflicting, because we already know that the old isn't going to get us there. So this is your task right now. It has to do with clarity, with free thinking and free feeling, and we have to learn how to do this, guys. We weren't taught this. Your soul's sucking at the moment. I'm trying to be okay with that and lean into myself for more trust. Yes, that's it, Sean. It's about learning how to trust in yourself. Learning that the one thing that is always there for you is your own, true self, soul self, if you will. And if you begin to trust in that, you know that you can always count on yourself. You will never be able to control outer circumstances, but you can trust in your own soul's integrity, provided you know how to internalize, how to feel this yourself. So don't listen to other people who tell you about you, who you are, what your purpose is, and what your past lives were, and why you... That's New Age bullshit, guys. That's the wrong exit. Can't trust what is perceived, as it's constantly changing. And themes are getting, boring. They're getting to the place where you have to admit to yourself that if you continue doing the same things as you have done in the past, if you approach things the same way, you cannot expect different results. You got to be okay with that. That's the key to unlocking your mind's schism. Just agree to things changing and to you having to find your way, but with different tools. And the tools are already in you. You just got to learn how to use those tools right. Yeah. So having a really, really cool, fancy toolbox in your garage or whatever, it doesn't mean you know how to use, a welding torch or a saw or, I don't know, you know what I mean. You still have to learn this, and where do you go to learn this? You learn it from others who've been there before. You learn it from people who know how to use these tools. Yeah. Not the people who idealize and say, oh, in order to do this right, you're going to have to do blah, blah. No. All that does is remind you of how little you know. Yeah. No, I understand, Sean. And I would be lying to you if I told you that everything is going to be kumbaya. All right? I do know, probably more than anybody, how gut-wrenching and challenging this transformation is. Because I accompany people in this every day. But I also know what that unfoldment, these aha moments when a person's consciousness doesn't just flicker in and out, but starts gripping, and a person begins to change their life, takes things into their own hands, and starts creating their own reality, guys. That's the most exquisite and fulfilling experience for me. Yeah, giant steps. One soul at a time. And as we do this as individual awakened soul selves, guys, we are changing the world. So if you want to change the world, start with yourself. You know this. Yeah. Maybe now through this energy talk, it has become a little more aware to you where you can start and what such a roadmap can look like. Yeah, and as always, please check my website, check my articles, my YouTube channel especially, and SoundCloud as well, where I have a lot of free energy alignments for you. Yeah, what someone who has gone there and who has learned from many, many other teachers who have gone there before me. Yeah, what we need on this journey. I love you. I love those talks with you. On Friday, as always, we're going to discuss the forthcoming energies. Yeah, we're heading into a solar eclipse, an intense one here, so we're already under the influences of that. So let's see what the next week's energy brings in for us, all of us, in a practical way. Don't forget to check the transCODES event calendar, because we have energy sessions going on almost daily where we work with these energies directly in our personal experience, and of course all the ongoing courses and programs that I have for those of you who want to really work with this. See you on Friday. Thank you all for sharing. Bye-bye.